The wind was sharp that morning, slicing through the heart of downtown Chicago as Emily held her little girl's hand. Her pale blue dress fluttered in the breeze, but her heart was heavier than it had been in years. She hadn't planned to see him. In fact, she had spent the last 5 years building a life where the mere thought of him didn't hurt as much. But fate has a cruel way of reminding us of the past we try so hard to bury. And then, out of nowhere, her daughter tugged on her hand, her innocent voice cutting through the noise of the city. "Mom," she said, pointing ahead with her tiny finger, "is that my dad?" Emily froze. Her breath caught. Her heart stopped for a second that stretched into forever. Because standing just a few feet away in a navy blue suit was the man who had once been the center of her world, and the reason she had learned to live with heartbreak. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this story with someone who might need a little hope today. Because sometimes love finds its way back in the most unexpected moments. It had been 6 years since Emily had last seen Daniel. 6 years since she had packed a single suitcase, left their home in Denver, and moved across the country to start over. Back then, she was just 28, scared, pregnant, and alone. Their marriage had crumbled under the weight of Daniel's growing ambition and her silent pain. He had been a rising star in corporate law, brilliant, charming, but increasingly distant. Emily had tried to hold on, but when the shouting became more frequent than the laughter, and when silence replaced affection, she knew she couldn't raise a child in that kind of world. She left him a letter, just a few pages of trembling words, and disappeared. No forwarding address, no phone number, just a promise to herself that she would raise her daughter in peace, away from the storm of their broken love. Life wasn't easy. She worked 2 jobs, one as a receptionist in a small clinic and another as a part-time waitress in a cafe. Her nights were long, her bank account was always on the edge, and yet, every morning when she looked into little Lily's eyes, she felt stronger. That little girl was her heartbeat, her reason for everything. Emily never told Lily much about her father. Whenever the little girl asked, she would say softly, "He's far away, sweetheart." She didn't want to paint Daniel as a villain. He wasn't. He was just lost in his own world of success, unable to see the cracks forming beneath his feet, and now, standing face to face with him on that cold Chicago morning, all those years of distance collapsed into a single, fragile moment. Daniel hadn't changed much. His hair was a little shorter, his expression more mature, but his eyes, those deep brown eyes, still held the same warmth she remembered. The same eyes that had once made her believe that forever was real. He looked at her in stunned silence. His briefcase slipped slightly from his hand as he took a step closer.
"Emily?"
He finally whispered, disbelief coloring his voice. She didn't speak. Couldn't. Her throat was too tight, her eyes already stinging. She hadn't prepared for this moment, and then Lily looked up at him with pure, unfiltered curiosity. Her curls bounced as she tilted her head. "Mom," she repeated softly, "is that my dad?" Emily's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her silence said more than words ever could. Daniel's gaze flickered from her to the little girl, and in that instant, realization hit him like a wave. His knees felt weak. His pulse raced. He looked into Lily's bright blue eyes, eyes that mirrored Emily's, and suddenly everything made sense. The timing, the silence, the reason she had vanished. For a moment, none of them moved. The city continued around them, indifferent to the quiet storm unraveling in the middle of its streets. Daniel finally spoke, his voice breaking. "Is she—" Emily closed her eyes, tears escaping despite her best effort. "Yes," she whispered. He exhaled, a sound that was part relief, part devastation. "She's mine?" Emily nodded. "She's ours." The 3 of them sat later that afternoon at a small cafe nearby. The same cafe where Emily used to work during her early years in Chicago. The familiarity of it all, the sound of coffee machines, the scent of pastries, made her feel safe enough to talk. Daniel listened quietly as Emily told him everything. How she had struggled. How she had built a life for Lily. how she had often thought about reaching out but didn't know how. He didn't interrupt. His eyes stayed fixed on her, every word cutting deep into the guilt he'd carried for years without even knowing it. He told her that after she left, he had searched for her for months. That he had hired private investigators, followed every lead, and spent countless sleepless nights replaying their last argument in his mind. "I thought I'd lost you forever," he said softly. "And now I realize I lost more than you. I lost my family." Emily looked at him for a long moment. The anger she had once felt was gone. In its place was something softer, something that frightened her even more. Understanding. They spent hours talking. Daniel asked about Lily's favorite toys, her favorite color, her favorite bedtime story. When Lily returned from the restroom, he smiled at her and said, "I like pink too." She grinned shyly and handed him her crayon. For the first time, he drew something that wasn't a contract or a signature, a little stick figure family holding hands. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, Daniel became a part of their world. He began picking Lily up from school, taking her to the park, reading to her before bed when Emily worked late. The first time Lily called him Daddy, Daniel had to step into another room just to catch his breath. But things weren't simple. The past still lingered, whispering doubts. Emily wasn't sure she could trust him completely, not yet. She had built walls high enough to protect both herself and her daughter. Daniel knew this, and for once he didn't try to break them down with words or promises. Instead, he stayed, patient, consistent, present. He learned how to braid Lily's hair. He learned to show up to school recitals, even when his job demanded otherwise. He learned that love isn't just said, it's shown every single day, and Emily began to see the change. This wasn't the same man she had left years ago. He laughed more, listened more, and most of all, he seemed to carry a humility she had never seen before. One evening, after putting Lily to bed, he looked at Emily across the living room and said quietly, "Thank you for giving me a chance to be her father. I don't deserve it, but I'll never waste it." She didn't answer with words. She simply nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. Months passed. Winter melted into spring, and their story, broken once, now mending, began to bloom again. The three of them would walk through the park on weekends, Lily skipping between them, holding both their hands. Sometimes people would look at them and smile, thinking they were just another happy family. They didn't know the history, the pain, or the courage it took to rebuild what had been lost. But life has a way of testing love's endurance. One afternoon, Emily received a call from Daniel's office. There had been a car accident. Her heart nearly stopped as she rushed to the hospital, every horrible thought flooding her mind. When she saw him lying there, bruised but alive, she broke down completely. All the years of pain, anger, and pride washed away in a flood of tears. She held his hand tightly, whispering, "Don't you dare leave us again." Daniel opened his eyes slowly and smiled faintly. "Not this time," he said. "I'm right where I belong." That night changed everything. Emily realized that love wasn't about perfection. It was about forgiveness, resilience, and choosing to stay even when things got hard. When Daniel recovered, he proposed, not with grand gestures or fancy rings, but with a quiet, trembling voice that said, "Let's finish what we started." As a family, Emily said yes, not because of the past, but because of the future they could build, the one their daughter deserved. A year later, on a warm summer evening, they stood in their backyard surrounded by close friends. Lily, wearing a white dress with a pink ribbon, threw flower petals in the air as her parents renewed their vows. When Daniel looked at Emily, his voice broke. "I once lost you because I didn't know how to love right. I won't make that mistake again." Emily smiled, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You already haven't." As they kissed, the crowd cheered, and Lily clapped her little hands with joy. Sometimes life gives us second chances, not because we deserve them, but because love refuses to give up. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who believes that love can heal even the deepest wounds. And before you go, let us know in the comments, do you believe people can truly change when given a second chance? Because sometimes silence speaks louder than words, and love finds its voice again.